Did you ever wonder how much of American rock and roll was shaped not just by raw talent or catchy riffs, but by deep cultural roots stretching back to the Old World, in particular to the heart of Central Europe? Poland? That's right. From the smoky clubs of Chicago to the roaring stadiums of the 80s rock era, Polish-American musicians have had a powerful hand in defining the sound of modern America. Today, we're diving deep into the Polish bloodlines that helped write the soundtrack of generations. And if you think it's just a few background players, think again. Behind some of the biggest voices, most recognizable bass lines, and jaw-dropping guitar solos in music history, there's a Polish name you might not have known about. Let's start with one of the biggest names in rock, Richie Sambora, longtime guitarist and songwriter for Bon Jovi. While John Bon Jovi fronted the band, Sambora gave it grit, soul, and those soaring, unforgettable solos. He wasn't just a sideman, he was a co-architect of the band's success. What many fans might not know is that Richie Sambora is 100% Polish from both sides of his family. Raised in New Jersey, Sambora brought the blue-collar fire and immigrant spirit into every song. You can hear it in the defiant chords of "Livin' on a Prayer" or the aching emotion of "Wanted, Dead or Alive." His roots weren't just musical, they were cultural, inherited from generations of Polish immigrants who worked hard, dreamed big, and passed down a love for music and storytelling. Now head west to California, where another Polish-American helped redefine what a rock bassist could do. His name is Michael Anthony, but his birth name is Michael Anthony Sobolewski. That surname tells you everything you need to know. Deep Polish roots. Known for his thunderous bass lines and unforgettable harmonies in Van Halen, Michael Anthony brought more than rhythm, he brought presence. His voice was a key part of that unmistakable Van Halen sound, blending with David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar to create rich, high-energy choruses. But before the platinum records and sold-out tours, Sobolewski was just a kid from Chicago, a city teeming with Polish-American families, traditions, and community centers where polkas and waltzes were just as common as rock and roll. That background, steeped in tradition and hard work, surely shaped the musician he would become. And speaking of Chicago, we can't skip Peter Satara. If you've ever swayed to a Chicago ballad like "If You Leave Me Now" or "Hard to Say I'm Sorry," you've heard Peter Satara's angelic voice in action. Satara was born and raised in Chicago's heavily Polish neighborhoods and grew up speaking the language. His family came from a working-class background, and it shows in his humble demeanor and sincere vocal style. Long before he went solo, Satara helped make Chicago one of the biggest soft rock bands in the world, and behind that velvet voice, a strong Polish-American identity that stayed with him through decades in the music industry. Of course, not every Polish-American rocker came from Chicago. Take Pat Benatar, one of the most powerful voices of the 1980s. Known for anthems like Heartbreaker and Love is a Battlefield, Benatar had an electrifying presence and a voice that could cut through steel. Her heritage? A mix of Polish and Irish, a fiery combination that absolutely exploded on stage. Raised in New York, Benatar came from a working-class background where music was an outlet and a way forward. Her Polish roots weren't just genetic, they were cultural. You can hear the raw determination, the immigrant drive in every rebellious chorus. Even beyond the mainstream rock world, Polish-American talent flourished in surprising places. Did you know that Gene Simmons, the fire-breathing, tongue-wagging co-founder of Kiss, has direct Polish roots? Born in Israel as Chaim Witz, Simmons immigrated to the U.S. as a child with his mother, a Holocaust survivor from Poland. Her story, one of survival, trauma, and new beginnings, shaped Gene's identity and music. While Simmons may be more associated with outrageous costumes and theatrics, his success is still a classic immigrant story, escaping hardship, arriving with nothing, and building an empire from scratch. Another name that deserves more recognition is Chris Poland, the original lead guitarist for Megadeth. Yes, Poland is his actual last name, and yes, his heritage matches. Known for his jazz-influenced style and fluid soloing, Chris brought a unique melodic sensibility to early thrash metal, helping Megadeth stand apart from other bands in the genre. His Polish background, though less often discussed, is proudly part of his musical and personal journey. And don't overlook Tom Scholes, the mastermind behind the band Boston. While he's best known for building his own studio gear and engineering one of the cleanest guitar sounds in rock history, Scholes also traces part of his ancestry back to Poland. That dedication to craft, that perfectionism, it's not hard to imagine that it came from a long line of proud, hard-working Polish immigrants. Let's pivot to some genre-bending icons. The jazz world boasts names like Stan Getz, born Stanley Gajecki to Polish immigrant parents. A master of the saxophone, Getz brought bossa nova into the American mainstream with hits like The Girl from Ipanema. His tone was airy, effortless, and cool. But his journey, like so many others, started in the immigrant neighborhoods of early 20th century America. Then there's Liberace, the wildly flamboyant pianist and entertainer who dazzled audiences with his showmanship. Though often remembered for his glittering costumes and larger-than-life persona, Liberace had deep Polish and Italian roots, growing up in a working-class household in Wisconsin. Bobby Vinton, affectionately nicknamed the Polish Prince, gave us romantic hits like Blue Velvet and Mr. Lonely. His Polish heritage wasn't hidden, it was front and center. He recorded several albums entirely in Polish and performed polkas and waltzes alongside traditional pop, making him a beloved figure in Polish-American households across the country. Vinton was proud of his roots and made sure the world knew it. As we enter the modern era, the Polish presence in music continues. Julian Casablancas, frontman of The Strokes, helped lead the indie rock revival of the early 2000s. His mother's family has Polish ancestry, which threads its way through a broader European mix. Likewise, Taylor Momsen of the Pretty Reckless, known for her gritty vocals and rebellious image, also traces part of her background to Poland. And then there's Lozzie Hale of Halestorm, a true modern rock powerhouse. Her name may not scream Polish, but her family lineage includes those Eastern European roots passed down through generations of storytellers and song lovers. Even Matt Berninger, the frontman of The National, whose moody, introspective lyrics have captured hearts across the indie scene, has Polish ancestry embedded in his family tree. So what does all this mean? It means the story of American music is, in so many ways, the story of immigration. Of families leaving war-torn Europe, crossing oceans, and settling in cities like Chicago, New York, and Detroit. Of kids raised in tight-knit communities where traditional music met the American dream, where hard work, heartbreak, and hope were passed down in lullabies, polkas, and eventually power chords. The Polish-American journey is etched into our culture, not just in pierogi and parades, but in platinum records and Grammy-winning songs. These artists didn't just bring talent, they brought legacy. They carried with them the strength, resilience, and passion of a people who had known struggle and transformed it into sound. Whether it was a scream from a stadium stage, a whisper over jazz saxophone, or a booming ballad from the radio, their voices echo the immigrant story. Thanks for joining us on this musical journey through heritage, history, and the power of Polish-American artistry. If you found this video inspiring, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment about which artist surprised you most. There's so much more to explore and many more immigrant stories waiting to be told. You've been watching Immigrant Paths, where music meets migration. We'll see you in the next story.